Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so happy you're here today. In today's video, we're going to talk about remote schooling, COVID homeschooling, and our desire to become long-term homeschoolers. So buckle up, it's going to be a sit-down chat style video with me today, talking about how we've gone from remote school 1 year ago to COVID homeschooling the beginning of this year, to deciding that homeschool is the best choice for our family, and now we'll be homeschooling long term. So let's get into it. A year ago, or the beginning of 2020, when all the schools shut down, we, like most families, went into remote schooling with our family, with our children. So for our family, like most, once we got into April of 2020, it was pretty evident that my kids were not going back to public school for the rest of the school year. And we began remote schooling. It was interesting, to say the least. Our school did a really great job of making sure that the kids were interacting via Google Meets and how to put this? They were trying really hard to make sure the kids were still learning, but making it fun in a stressful time. And to be honest, how much did we really think our kids were going to learn going from a 5-day-a-week full school day public school system to basically 2 hours of remote schooling online in the flip of a switch? It wasn't going to happen. So as this was all unfolding and my husband and I were seeing the types of things our kids were learning in school in a more in-depth way by being so entrenched and involved in their learning via remote schooling, it became evident that we weren't happy with some of the things we were seeing. And then masking started, social distancing. All those requirements were being made over the summer between the end of the school year in June and what was going to be in place in September. And so when that started and rumors were going around of what school would look like in September of 2020, my husband and I made the decision that we would be homeschooling. Now, to back up a little bit, we had actually planned on pulling our 9-year-old son out of public school and homeschooling him back in December of 2019. He was going to finish out his 2nd grade school year, and we were going to homeschool him for 3rd grade. He was struggling. He was on a very intensive IEP, but he still wasn't reaching milestones and goals the way my husband and I had hoped he would. Now, he is deaf. He is aided, has been since he was 4 months old, and that's a whole nother video that I'll get into one day, but we just weren't seeing any progression and improvement in his education, and I thought maybe bringing him home for a few years of elementary school, doing homeschooling with him one-on-one, where I could really hone in on reading skills and math skills and spelling skills, would be beneficial for him. So that was our plan anyways. COVID hits, mandates are in place, masking, social distancing, schooling wasn't going to look like what we wanted schooling to look like for our kids. We also decided to homeschool our rising 6th grader at that time. And at first we figured, okay, we'll homeschool for a year and see where we are. And that was our plan when we began in September of 2020. We decided that we would homeschool for 1 school year and see how we felt about it. And we liked it a lot. COVID homeschooling is much different than regular, everyday, every year homeschooling. And I've become part of so many homeschool groups that that's the first thing they say. Oh, you began homeschooling because of COVID. This isn't what homeschool is like for us either. And that was reassuring to me, because while it felt like we weren't seeing as many people, and my kids felt this like not seeing as many friends and peers, I had to remind myself that, well, it's also the time of social distancing. And as mandates were lessened, my kids have been able to see more friends, and that has made a huge difference for us. So when we jumped in, all in, head first into homeschooling, I spent the summer doing extensive curriculum research and deciding which curriculums were going to be the best for my kids. Spoiler alert, everything I chose over the summer we are no longer using except for one math program for my newly 12-year-old daughter. Nothing else worked. So you can prepare as much as you want, and I thought I did, and I thought I had everything laid out because I'm so type A, and nope. It was trial and error for a good few months there. Probably the first 5 or 6 months was really trial and error. And that was another great experience for me, because I thought that I was just going to buy these books and we would be learning and everything would go smoothly, and it didn't. And I needed that. I needed it to go wrong so I could figure out what to do to make it right. I don't think any year going forward is going to be without a slight trial and error in some subject, some way. But it was nice to have that happen right when we got out of the gate with homeschooling and being new homeschoolers. We learned a lot. I learned a lot about my children's learning habits, about the style of curriculum that works best for them, and the types of things they wanted to learn, which, hello, that's a huge benefit of homeschool, is that they can choose things that really interest them, and we can expand their interests in that. So trial and error was in full swing right as we got out of the gate in September of 2020. And I don't think we really hit a great stride until maybe the end of January of 2021. So it took a good long few months and a lot of changes for us to be where we are today. And it's giving me a great place to start from for next year. Like I said, there's probably going to be trial and error, but at least I know to expect that going forward. So now we are 8 weeks out of ending our first full homeschool year with every intention of going forward, at least until my children enter high school. So that's 2 years more of homeschooling for my daughter, and my son would have like 6 more years of homeschooling. We may take it year by year, but I really don't see us revisiting public school until possibly high school. And even then, I'm hoping that my children just really like the flexibility and the freedom and the opportunities that homeschooling has been giving us just in this single year, that they'll see that going forward so many years that they'll choose maybe homeschool as a path for high school, or we will choose it as a family. What do my kids think about it? I think it depends on the day. Not every day is perfect when you're homeschooling. There are days where my kids don't want to do any work, and there are days where it's a struggle. There are days of great wins too, and I know that my kids like the flexibility. There is no wake-up time this year. We've really allowed our kids to just set the schedule. We get so much work done in a few hours time that they have a lot of freedom in the afternoon to pursue things that they are interested in. My daughter's teaching herself how to sew. My son just likes imaginative play, and he's often involved in that. They like that I'm allowing them to get on to FaceTime with cousins and friends so that they can interact socially that way. And I think in times in COVID times, that is a great tool that we can use. So they're not so disappointed about homeschooling going forward. We are excited for a lot more flexibility. We're excited for a lot more travel time as a family. We are excited for to not have the school calendar looming over our heads, telling us and dictating to us when we can take vacations, or when my kids need to be in school or out of school. My kids also really like the fact that we do only 4 days of formal schooling a week, and we have free Fridays, and a lot of times we meet up with friends or we go out and do other activities. We take field trips on those days, and that has been a great benefit that my kids see versus being in public school. So going forward, we're really looking forward to joining in with our homeschool groups as larger groups are allowed to gather, and doing a lot more things outside, because we live in New England. Winters can be really tough, and if you're not a skier, we are not skiers, there's really not a whole lot to do outdoors. We go for walks or things like that, but there's really not a whole lot to do for us, people that aren't really huge fans of the cold. And I know we live in the worst possible place to not be fans of the cold, but none of us really are for my family. So we're looking forward to nice weather, lots of time around friends, outside doing a lot of physical activity, and just then going headfirst into a non-COVID homeschool year in September of 2021. Right? But it's interesting because I think, and I know, I don't think, I know, I see so many people that have joined Facebook groups or homeschool groups as people that are just using this year, COVID year, as homeschoolers, and they're planning on going back to public school. And I think that's great. I think it's great that they get this year with their children. They get to see and have experience and be a part of their education. That all struck a heartstring with me, where now I just really want to be around my kids all the time. I want to be the one educating them. I want to be in charge of what they're learning. I want to know that what they're learning is sound, and I would have never learned that if it wasn't for starting homeschool because of COVID. I would have never learned that I enjoy my kids being home all day long. I went from being a homemaker where my kids were at school and I was home alone doing homemaking duties and grocery shopping and shopping all by myself. And I thought I needed all that time alone in order to function properly, and that is proving to be a false narrative that I had in my head, because being with my children has really shown me that I like being the, I shouldn't say sole, but the most important role model in their life, and that has been a huge benefit of homeschooling this year. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and having this little homeschool update, chat, discussion about COVID homeschool versus real homeschool, what our plans are for the future, why we chose that. If you like these sit-down chat videos, give me a thumbs up so I know to keep doing them. And if you could, as always, hit that subscribe button. The little bell will tell you when I post again. It would mean the world to me. It's such an awesome way for me to connect with you guys. Leave me a comment and tell me what you guys think about homeschooling or COVID homeschooling. What's been different for you? Are you remote schooling still? Tell me all the things. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.